there, and welcome to another episode of the Absolutely Studying podcast, where we study the ups and the downs and all around experiences of being a college or university or mature student, especially for those that are making their way back into the classroom after a really long break or just starting on their higher education or post-secondary education journey. I am Terrell, and today we're going to dive deep into the anxiety-ridden world of navigating that transition from either taking a long break off or the working world and the academic world as a mature student. So this episode is for you if you have been away for school for a while now and you are just getting ready to go back. I know you're probably both thrilled and a little bit nervous, and that's totally normal. As someone who has been through it, working for years and years and years, and then deciding to go back into university at the drop of a hat, applying, going through that whole anxiety-ridden process, and then getting in and going through first, second, third, fourth year, it is really unique. There are both benefits and challenges that you're going to encounter, and all of them bring these fantastic opportunities to really grow and learn so many things besides what you're learning in the coursework. When I returned to school, I was absolutely terrified. I felt like an absolute fraud and like I did not belong there. I really struggled with imposter syndrome and that I was not good enough or smart enough or even deserving enough for this massive investment of both time and resources. I felt so selfish for actually taking this time and this money away from my son when I should be focusing all of these resources on him and making sure that he had the best life, the best start to go forward. But over time, it does get easier. Trust me when I say that you got this. You can do this. First off, I want to talk about some of the challenges because they are part of the journey, and together we're going to find them and we're going to find ways to tackle them head on. So let's get straight into it. One of the most significant challenges that mature students face is really finding a way to manage their time. Life is just this juggling act, and adding classes to the mix, it's gonna feel really overwhelming. Organizing your time is like a muscle, so going through it and doing it over and over again and repeating those exercises is going to make it easier. And setting a steady schedule with scheduled regular breaks, breaking down those tasks into bite-sized pieces and staying organized is really going to help to work wonders. I personally have horrible time blindness. 5 hours, 5 minutes, once I get laser focused, it does not matter. It's all just menial, and especially when I'm starting to hyper fixate on something. So I like to use a time blocking method, and that technique works because I generally set a series of alarms to remind me to wrap up one topic or one task and start moving on to the next one. So these alarms would ring every time that I had to even move from one location to another. And that would help me to start wrapping things up and leave and start my commute with time to spare so that I was not constantly running and frantically and being late for everything. This was really helpful because I did not just drop everything and go to school. I actually worked full time and was a single parent while I went to university. So at the time I was managing a medical clinic. And so that required a lot of focus, a lot of attention. I had to be there every single day or the entire building would absolutely go up in flames. But at the same time, I had to attend lectures. Being able to set aside that dedicated in-person focused time to listening to the professor go over the material was critical for me being able to take in and understand and really solidify the information. So I set a series of alarms that would tell me how long I needed to commute from point A to point B. And I did that all at the beginning of the semester, so that regardless of whether I went to work that day or not, I would still be able to have the alarm go off about an hour before class. so that I could wrap up what I was doing and go and make my commute all the way across town to the university. Since I did all of this work up front, setting the alarm at the beginning of the semester, it didn't take any more extra mental space or mental ability or extra work for me to be able to make sure I was on time. I didn't have to wake up in the morning and make sure that if I stopped at the clinic and got tied up with complaints or ordering or having to, assign duties, I was still able to just focus all of my attention on the task that I was working on. And then later on, when it was time to leave, I would automatically be notified and I could trust in my alarm to do that for me. So setting alarms might not be great for everybody. It might not be the perfect solution for everybody, but it was really helpful for me. And finding these little tasks or these little quirks or these little simple routines that are going to help you specifically to be able to find a strategy that works for you to get you disengaged from one activity and move on to the next. It's going to take a little bit of trial and error, but once you find a method that works for you, it's going to greatly help with task management, with organization, with time management, and it's going to make your life so much easier. Another obstacle that you might face is this new learning environment that you're about to immerse yourself in. It can be really intimidating if you're not used to the latest technology or gadgets and gizmos, or even learning new ways of doing things that you have already been doing can be terrifying. But here is a secret. The younger students, they may not be as set in their ways as mature students because we have been doing something in a specific way for so long. But mature students do have this wealth of real world knowledge and experience that we can draw upon. So embrace those strengths and don't hesitate to ask for help when it is needed. You would be surprised at how many people are going to look past the difference in age and just enjoy being near somebody that does have things to say, knowledge to talk about, actual experience and opinions to shoot back. And even though there is an age gap, you're going to find a lot of students who are going to be really open and welcoming to help you with areas that you might be a little bit more unsure of. And you will, in turn, actually help them out a ton because you do have all of this real world knowledge and experience in other areas. New systems can be really intimidating, and sometimes you just need to be able to play with or experiment with some of the equipment to actually get comfortable. So don't be afraid to do research or to ask questions or to go through and watch some tutorials before diving in. There are reviews and tutorials on literally anything on YouTube. You're probably watching this video right now on YouTube. Having those curtains open and being able to see something in use can often really subside a lot of the anxiety when you're about to use some of this technology and make you feel a lot more comfortable about using it when the time actually comes in class. So I don't want to fixate too much about all of the disadvantages, all of the anxiety that you're going to have, because you already know what you're anxious about. But what I do want to talk about are some of the advantages that you're going to have, some of these key opportunities, and there are plenty of them. First of all, remember that every single time you step into one of the classrooms, you bring with you a diverse perspective that can really enrich any of the discussions and spark creativity in not only yourself, but in other students. Your unique life experiences are going to give you this fresh lens, which is going to help you to explore subjects and relate them to the real world. So embrace that background and experience, because that is going to be your superpower. It's also going to mean that you, being a mature student that is just returning to school, is also going to make you more focused and determined than nearly anyone else in this room. You know what you want and you know what it's going to cost you to make it happen. So take pride in your ambition and let that drive you forward. Let that hunger, let that desire for a better life and for more knowledge and for what it is you feel you're missing, let that drive you forward. My story is probably not that much different than yours. I knew I hated my job. I knew that I needed to prove something to myself and that I needed to get away from the toxic people that I was working with and prove that I could accomplish something without the safety net of large investors or corporations behind me. And in the process of going out and searching for that piece that was missing, I discovered so much more than I thought that I would. More about myself and what I was really passionate about, more about the world and how it worked outside of my tiny bubble. But this is all wandering way off left field. Today's episode is not about me and my personal story, but I just want you to remember that you are not alone in this journey. You can always reach out and connect to other students, both young students and mature students. Having that community is always helpful. Building a support network can make all of the difference in the world with those college and university memories and experiences, and it can make your journey even more special. So if you are right now struggling with imposter syndrome like I do, or you are interested in a little bit more of my story, last week's podcast, maybe a couple weeks ago, was specifically about that. I talked all about my story and imposter syndrome and how I worked on overcoming it. I will link that in the show notes or the description below if you would like a listen to that one specifically. But that is all for today's episode on navigating the transition from working or from taking your long break as a mature student. With the new semester fast approaching, I really hope that you found this little chat at least a little bit helpful and reassuring that you are not alone in this. Remember that you have the wisdom, experience, and the tenacity to make your college or university or post-secondary experiences extraordinary. So embrace the challenges and just really relish those opportunities and savor every moment of this incredible journey, because you are going to look back on it and you're going to realize just how much, even as an adult, even as a mature student with so many life experiences, how much you have grown and learned about yourself and the world and other people outside of whatever it is you're studying. If you do have any questions or you want to share your story, feel free to reach out to me on social media. My info is in the description, and I always love hearing from you. So until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, keep shining, and until next week, I hope you have an amazing adventure.